Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, where the Rasika devotees, the honeybees, are buzzing around the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and the Srimad-Bhagavatam, trying to taste the honey. So welcome to the honeybee of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, the Srimad-Bhagavatam. All of you out in cyberspace, we have 1,345. That would have been too much. I don't want to misrepresent.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, it's going every week. It's going up. So welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. Thank you for joining, and thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us now, and thank you for joining us for this fellowship, for this community of devotees. So, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have some Vaishnavas here. Let's hear Sanatana Goswami's prayer to the Srimad Bhagavatam before we do anything else. It's from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava, a book that Sanatana Goswami wrote, meaning to offer 108 obeisances to the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. And these verses, which he called the Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram, within that Sri Krishna Lila Stava, verses 412 through 416, are the 107th obeisance, right to the end, almost the end, glorifying the Bhagavatam, and it goes like this: Sarvasya Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Man Nishdadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostude. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Sadhu Tadayin Adini Chochatakara Hanamun Chagadachin Mam Prem Narit Katayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we've reached the 20th chapter of the 4th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And this is Prthu Maharaj, who is offering his prayers back to Visnu, who has spoken highly of Prthu Maharaj and appreciated his service. And now Prthu Maharaj is offering his prayers back to the Supreme Lord. Text 27. Now I wish to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to serve just like the Goddess of Fortune, who carries the lotus flower in her hand. Because His Lordship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. I am afraid that the Goddess of Fortune and I would quarrel because both of us would be attentively engaged in the same service. I know that I read this yesterday, but I'm reading it again purposely because it's so nice. And I wanted all of us to hear it again, and I wanted everyone out in cyberspace that weren't here yesterday to hear it. Purport. The Lord is here addressed as Akila Purushottama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the entire creation. Purusha means the enjoyer, and Uttama means the best. There are different kinds of Purushas, or enjoyers, within the universe. Generally, they can be divided into three classes: those who are conditioned, those who are liberated, and those who are eternal. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is called the Supreme Eternal, of all eternals. Nityo Nityanam. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternal. Haribol. The Supreme Eternals are the Vishnu Tattva, or Lord Vishnu, and his expansions. So Nitya refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, beginning from Krishna to Mahavishnu, Narayana, Hare Krishna Net, and other expansions of Lord Krishna. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ramati Murtishu, there are millions and trillions of expansions of Lord Vishnu as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and other incarnations. All of them are called eternals. The word mukta refers to the living entities who never came within this material world. The baddhas are those living entities who are almost eternally living within this material world. The baddhas are struggling very hard within this material world to become free from the threefold miseries of material nature and to enjoy life, whereas the muktas are already liberated. They never come to this material world. Lord Vishnu is the master of this material world, and there is no question of his being controlled by material nature. Consequently, Lord Vishnu is addressed here as Purushottama, the best of all living entities, namely Vishnu Tattvas and Jiva Tattvas. It is a great offense, therefore, to compare Lord Vishnu and the Jiva Tattva, or consider them on an equal level. The Mayavadi philosophers equalize the Jivas and the Supreme Lord and consider them to be one. But that is the greatest offense to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Here in the material world, we have practical experience that a superior person is worshipped by an inferior one. Similarly, Purushottama, the greatest, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, is always worshipped by others. Prthu Maharaj therefore decided to engage in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Prthu Maharaj is considered to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, but he is called a Shaktavesha incarnation. Another significant word in this verse is gunalayam, which refers to Vishnu as the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. The Mayavadi philosophers take the absolute truth to be nirguna, without qualities, in accordance with the impersonalistic view. But actually the Lord is the reservoir of all good qualities. One of the most important qualities of the Lord is His inclination to His devotees, for which He is called Bhakta Vatsala. The devotees are always very much inclined to render service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord is also very much inclined to accept loving service from His devotees. In that exchange of service, there are many transcendental transactions which are called transcendental qualitative services or activities. Some of the transcendental qualities of the Lord are that He is omniscient, omnipresent, all-pervasive, all-powerful, the cause of all causes, the absolute truth, the reservoir of all pleasures, the reservoir of all knowledge, the all-auspicious, and so on. Prthu Maharaj desired to serve the Lord with the goddess of fortune, but this desire does not mean that he was situated on the platform of Madhurya Ras. The goddess of fortune is engaged in the service of the Lord in the rasa of Madhurya, conjugal love. Although her position is on the chest of the Lord, the goddess of fortune, in her position as a devotee, takes pleasure in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Prthu Maharaj was thinking only of the lotus feet of the Lord because he is on the platform of Dasyaras, or servitorship of the Lord. From the next verse we learn that Prthu Maharaj was thinking of the goddess of fortune as the universal mother, Jagannatha. Consequently, there was no question of his competing with her on the platform of Madhurya Ras. Nonetheless, he feared that she might take offense at his engaging in the service of the Lord. This suggests that in the absolute world there is sometimes competition between servitors in the service of the Lord. But such competition is without malice. In the Vaikuntha worlds, if a devotee excels in the service of the Lord, others do not become envious of his excellent service, but rather aspire to come to the platform of that service. Text 28. My dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the mother of the universe, and yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on that very platform to which she is so much attached. Yet I am hopeful that even though there is some misunderstanding, you will take my part, for you are very much inclined to the poor, and you always magnify even insignificant service unto you. Therefore, even if she becomes angry, I think that there is no harm for you, because you are so self-sufficient that you can do without her. Purport. Mother Lakshmiji, the goddess of fortune, is well known for always massaging the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. She is an ideal wife because she takes care of Lord Narayana in every detail. She takes care not only of his lotus feet, but of the household affairs of the Lord as well. She cooks nice foods for him, fans him while he eats, smooths sandalwood pulp on his face, and sets his bed and sitting places in the right order. In this way, she is always engaged in the service of the Lord, and there is hardly any opportunity for any other devotee to intrude upon his daily activities. Prthu Maharaj was therefore almost certain that his intrusion into the service of the goddess of fortune would irritate her and cause her to become angry with him. But why should Mother Lakshmi, the goddess, the mother of the universe, be angry with an insignificant devotee like Prthu Maharaj? All this was not very likely. Yet Prthu Maharaj, just for his personal protection, appealed to the Lord to take his part. Prthu Maharaj was engaged in performing the ordinary Vedic rituals and sacrifices according to the karma kanda, or fruitive activities. But the Lord, being so kind and magnanimous, was ready to award Prthu Maharaj the highest perfectional stage of life, namely devotional service. When a person performs Vedic rituals and sacrifices, he does so to elevate himself to the heavenly planets. No one can become qualified to go back home, back to Godhead, by means of such sacrifices. But the Lord is so kind that he accepts a little insignificant service, and therefore it is stated in the Vishnu Purana that by following the principles of Varnashram Dharma, one can satisfy the Supreme Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, the performer of sacrifices is elevated to the platform of devotional service. Prthu Maharaj therefore expected that his insignificant service to the Lord would be accepted by him as being greater than that of Lakshmiji. The goddess of fortune is called Chanchala, restless, because she is very restless and is always coming and going. So Prthu Maharaj indicated that even though she might go away out of anger, there would be no harm for Lord Vishnu because he is self-sufficient and can do anything and everything without the help of Lakshmiji. For example, when Garbhodakashai Vishnu begot Lord Brahma from his navel, he did not take any help from Lakshmi, who was just sitting by him and massaging his lotus feet. Generally, if a son is to be begotten, the husband impregnates the wife, and in due course of time the son is born. But in the case of Lord Brahma's birth, Garbhodakashai Vishnu did not impregnate Lakshmi ji. Being self-sufficient, the Lord begot Brahma from his own navel. Therefore, Prthu Maharaj was confident that even if the goddess of fortune became angry with him, there would be no harm, neither to the Lord nor to himself. Hare Krishna. 29. Great saintly persons who are always liberated take to your devotional service, because only by devotional service can one be relieved from the illusions of material existence. O my Lord, there is no reason for the liberated souls to take shelter at your lotus feet, except that such souls are constantly thinking of your lotus feet. Purport. The karmis are generally engaged in fruitive activities for material bodily comforts. The jnanis, however, are disgusted with searching after material comforts. They understand that they have nothing to do with this material world, being spirit souls. After self-realization, the jnanis, who are actually mature in their knowledge, must surrender under the lotus feet of the Lord, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Self-realization is not complete unless one comes to the devotional platform. Therefore, it is stated in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that those who are Atmarama, self-satisfied, are freed from all contaminations of the material modes of nature. As long as one is affected by the modes of material nature, especially by rajas and tamas, he will be very greedy and lusty, and will therefore engage in hard tasks, laboring all day and night. Such false egoism carries one from one species of life into another perpetually, and there is no rest in any species of life. The jnani understands this fact, and therefore ceases to work and takes to karma sannyas. Yet this is not actually the platform of satisfaction. After self-realization, the material wisdom of the jnani leads him to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, when he is satisfied only in contemplating the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, then he is satisfied only in contemplating the lotus feet of the Lord constantly. Prthu Maharaj therefore concluded that liberated persons taking to the devotional path have acquired the ultimate goal of life. If liberation were the end in itself, there would be no question of a liberated person's taking to devotional service. In other words, the transcendental bliss derived from self-realization, known as Atmananda, is very insignificant in the presence of the bliss derived from devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Prthu Maharaj therefore concluded that he would simply hear of the glories of the Lord constantly, and thus engage his mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. Text 30. My dear Lord, what you have said to your unalloyed devotee is certainly very much bewildering. The allurements you offer in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities, enamored with the results of their actions. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, has said that persons who are very much attached to the fruitive activities of the Vedas, namely Karmakanda and Jnanakanda, are certainly doomed. In the Vedas there are three categories of activities, known as Karmakanda, fruitive activities, Jnanakanda, philosophical research, and Upasana Kanda, worship of different demigods for receiving material benefits. Those who are engaged in Karmakanda and Jnanakanda are doomed in the sense that everyone is doomed who is entrapped in this material body, whether it is a body of a demigod, a king, a lower animal, or whatever. The sufferings of the threefold miseries of material nature are the same for all. Cultivation of knowledge to understand one's spiritual position is also, to a certain extent, a waste of time, because the living entity is an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. His immediate business is to engage himself in devotional service. Prthu Maharaj therefore says that the allurement of material benedictions is another trap to entangle one in this material world. He therefore frankly tells the Lord that the Lord's offerings of benedictions in the form of material facilities are certainly causes for bewilderment. A pure devotee is not at all interested in bhukti or mukti. The Lord sometimes offers benedictions to the neophyte devotees who have not yet understood that material facilities will not make them happy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord therefore says that a sincere devotee who is not very intelligent may ask some material benefit from the Lord, but the Lord, being omniscient, does not generally give material rewards, but on the contrary, takes away whatever material facilities are being enjoyed by his devotee, so that ultimately the devotee will completely surrender unto him. In other words, the offering of benedictions in the form of material profit is never auspicious for the devotees, for the devotee. The statements of the Vedas, which offer elevation to heavenly planets in exchange for great sacrifices, are simply bewildering. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 2:42, the Lord says, Yam imam pushpitam bacham pravadantya vipashtitaha. The less intelligent class of men, avipashtitaha, attracted by the flowery language of the Vedas, engage in fruitive activities to become materially benefited. Thus they continue life after life in different bodily forms to search very, very hard. Text 31. My Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position, and out of ignorance, they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please, do not ask me to take some material benefits from you, but as a father, not waiting for the son's demands, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. Purport. It is the duty of the son to depend upon his father without asking anything from him. The good son has faith that the father knows best how to benefit him. Similarly, a pure devotee does not ask anything from the Lord for material benefit, nor does he ask anything for spiritual benefit. The pure devotee is fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord takes charge of him. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishami. The Father knows the necessities of the Son and supplies them, and the Supreme Lord knows the necessities of living entities and supplies them sumptuously. Therefore the Ishopanishad states that everything in this material world is complete, Purnam Idam. The difficulty is that due to forgetfulness, the living entities create unnecessary demands and entangle themselves in material activities. The result is that there is no end to material activities, life after life. Before us there are varieties of living entities, and everyone is entangled in transmigrations and activities. Our duty is simply to surrender under the Supreme Personality of Godhead and let Him take charge, for He knows what is good for us. Prthu Maharaj therefore tells the Lord that as the Supreme Father, He may elect to bestow whatever He considers beneficial for Prthu Maharaj. That is the perfect position of the living entity. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us in his Shikshastika, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam Va, Jagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani, Janmanishwara, Janmanishware, Bhavatad Bhaktir, Ahektuki Twayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I have any desire to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause's devotional service in my life, birth after birth. The conclusion is that the pure devotee should not aspire after any material benefit from devotional service, nor should he be enamored with fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. He should always be engaged favorably in the service of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. 32. The great sage Maitreya continued by saying that the Lord, the seer of the universe, the great sage Maitreya continued by saying that the Lord, the seer of the universe, after hearing Prthu Maharaja's prayer, addressed the king. My dear king, may you always be blessed by engaging in my devotional service. Only such purity of purpose as yourself, only by such purity of purpose as you yourself very intelligently express, can one cross over the insurmountable illusory energy of Maya. Purport. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord also claims that the illusory energy is insurmountable. No one can transcend the illusory energy of Maya by fruitive activity, speculative philosophy, or mystic yoga. The only means for transcending illusory energy is devotional service. As the Lord Himself states, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. If one wants to cross over the ocean of material existence, there is no alternative than to take to devotional service. A devotee therefore should not care for any material position, whether in heaven or in hell. A pure devotee should always engage in the service of the Lord, for that is his real occupation. Simply by sticking to that position, one can overcome the stringent laws of material nature. Text 33. My dear King, O protector of the citizens, henceforward be very careful to execute my orders and not be misled by anything. Anyone who lives in that way, simply carrying out my orders faithfully, will always find good fortune all over the world. Purport. The sum and substance of religious life is to execute the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one who does so is perfectly religious. In Bhagavad Gita 1865, the Supreme Lord says, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakta. Just think of me, always, and become my devotee. Furthermore, the Lord says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam-ekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all kinds of material engagement and simply surrender unto me. This is the primary principle of religion. Anyone who directly executes such an order from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually a religious person. Others are described as pretenders, for there are many activities going on throughout the world in the name of religion which are not actually religious. For one who executes the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, there is only good fortune throughout the world. Text 34. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead amply appreciated the meaningful prayers of Maharaja Prthu. Thus, after being properly worshipped by the king, the Lord blessed him and decided to depart. Purport. Most important in this verse are the words Pratinan Dyarthabad Bacha, which indicate that the Lord appreciated the very meaningful prayers of the king. When a devotee prays to the Lord, it is not to ask for material benefits, but to ask the Lord for his favor. He prays that he may be engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet birth after birth. Lord Chaitanya therefore uses the words Mama Janmani, Janmani, which mean birth after birth, because a devotee is not even interested in stopping the repetition of birth. The Lord and the devotee appear in this material world, birth after birth, but such births are transcendental. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord informed Arjuna that both he and Arjuna had undergone many, many births previously, but the Lord remembered everything about them, whereas Arjuna had forgotten. The Lord and his confidential devotees appear many times to fulfill the Lord's mission, but since such births are transcendental, they are not accompanied by the miserable conditions of material birth, and they are therefore called divya, transcendental. One must understand the transcendental birth of the Lord and the devotee. The purpose of the Lord's taking birth is to establish devotional service, which is the perfect system of religion, and the purpose of the birth of a devotee is to broadcast the same system of religion, or the bhakti cult, all over the world. Prthu Maharaj was an incarnation of the power of the Lord to spread the bhakti cult, and the Lord blessed him to remain fixed in his position. Thus, when the king refused to accept any material benediction, the Lord appreciated that refusal very much. Another significant word in this verse is achyuta, which means infallible. Although the Lord appears in this material world, he is never to be considered one of the conditioned souls who are all fallible. When the Lord appears, he remains in his spiritual position, uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. And therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord expresses the quality of his appearance as Atma Mayaya, performed by internal potency. The Lord, being infallible, is not forced by material nature to take birth in this material world. He appears in order to re-establish the perfect order of religious principles and to vanquish the demoniac influence in human society. Text 35, 36. King Prthu worshipped the demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Pitriloka, the inhabitants of Gandharvaloka, and those of Siddhaloka, Charnaloka, Panagaloka, Kinaraloka, Apsaraloka, the earthly planets, and the planets of the birds. He also worshipped many other living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. With folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord, by offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible. After this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following in the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. Purport. In modern, so-called scientific society, the idea is very prevalent that there is no life on other planets, but that only on this earth do living entities with intelligence and scientific knowledge exist. The Vedic literatures, however, do not accept this foolish theory. The followers of Vedic wisdom are fully aware of various planets inhabited by varieties of living entities, such as the demigods, the sages, the pitas, the gandharvas, the panagas, the kinnaras, the charanas, the siddhas, and the apsaras. The Vedas give information that in all planets, not only within this material sky, but also in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of living entities. Although all these living entities are of one spiritual nature, in quality, the name is the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have varieties of bodies due to the embodiment of the out of the spirit soul by the 8 material elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. In the spiritual world, however, there is no such distinction between the body and the embodied. In the material world, distinctive features are manifested in different types of bodies and various planets. We have full information from the Vedic literature that in each and every planet, both material and spiritual, there are living entities of varied intelligence. The Earth is one of the planets of the Burloka planetary system. There are 6 planetary systems above Burloka and 7 planetary systems below it. Therefore, the entire universe is known as Chaturdasha Bhuvana, indicating that it has 14 different planetary systems. Beyond the planetary systems, in the material sky, there is another sky, which is known as Paravyoma, or the spiritual sky, where there are spiritual planets. The inhabitants of those planets engage in varieties of loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which include different rasas, or relationships, known as Dasya ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, Madhurya ras, and above all, Parakya ras. This Parakya ras, or Paramore love, is prevalent in Krishna Loka, where Lord Krishna lives. This planet is also called Goloka Vrindavan, and although Lord Krishna lives there perpetually, he also expands himself in millions and trillions of forms. In one of such forms, he appears on this material planet in a particular place known as Vrindavan Dham, where he displays his original pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan Dham in the spiritual sky in order to attract the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Text 37. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captivated the minds of the king and the priests who were present, returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. Purport. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all spiritual, he can descend from the spiritual sky without changing his body, and thus he is known as Achyuta, or infallible. When a living entity falls down to the material world, however, he has to accept the material body, and therefore, in his material embodiment, in the service, he cannot be called Achyuta, because he falls down from his real engagement in the service of the Lord. Because he falls down from his real engagement in the service of the Lord, the living entity gets a material body to suffer or try to enjoy in the miserable material condition of life. Therefore, the fallen living entity is called Achyuta. Called what? Achyuta. Just checking. Steve, see, is still there. Therefore, the fallen living entity is called Achyuta. Whereas the Lord is called Achyuta. That's better. The Lord was attractive for everyone, not only the king, but also the priestly order, who were very much addicted to the performance of Vedic rituals. Because the Lord is all attractive, he is called Krishna. Because the Lord is all attractive, he is called Krishna. Okay. Or one who attracts everyone. The Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaja Prthu as Kshirodakashayi Visnu, who is a plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. He is the second incarnation from Karunadakashayi Visnu, who is the origin of material creation and who expands as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who then enters into each and every universe. Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is one of the Purushas who control the material modes of nature. Text 38. King Prthu then offered his respectful obeisances under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all the demigods. The Supreme Lord of whom? All demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prthu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, the king returned to his home. Purport. The Supreme Lord is not visible to material eyes. But when the material senses are inclined to the transcendental loving service of the Lord and are thus purified, the Lord reveals himself to the vision of the Lord, of the devotee. Avyakta means unmanifested. Although the material world is the creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is unmanifested to the material eyes. Maharaj Prthu, however, developed spiritual eyes by his pure devotional service. Here, therefore, the Lord is described as Sandarshitatma, for he reveals himself to the vision of a devotee, although he is not visible to ordinary eyes. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th chapter, 20th chapter, Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena of Maharaj Prthu. Okay, pop quiz. We have this material body, and therefore we cannot see the spiritual form of the Lord. So how can we see the spiritual form of the Lord?
Through transcendental service, devotional service.
Devotional service. Give that man a cupido. No. Give that man more devotional service. Yes, if you get that right, then the reward is you get more devotional service. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we're actually asking the energy of the Lord and the Lord to give us devotional service. So if you are chanting properly, then you should get some more devotional service. Hare Krishna. Okay, now we've reached the 21st chapter. And these are called Instructions by Maharaja Prthu. We're going to hear the instructions from the King of Kings. Okay, is everybody ready or not? Doesn't sound like anybody's ready for anything. Sounds like half of you are asleep.
It's the heater.
Is it the heater? Really? Oh. Well, yesterday it was too cold, and now it's too hot. So there you have it. Material existence in a nutshell. Okay. Stay alert, hot or cold. Translation. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, when the king entered a city, it was very beautifully decorated to receive him with pearls, flower garlands, beautiful cloth, and golden gates. And the entire city was perfumed with highly fragrant incense. Purport. Real opulence is supplied by natural gifts such as gold, silver, pearls, valuable stones, fresh flowers, trees, and silken cloth. Thus, the Vedic civilization recommends opulence and decoration with these natural gifts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such opulence immediately changes the condition of the mind, and the entire atmosphere becomes spiritualized. King Prithu's capital was decorated with such highly opulent decorations. Text 2. Fragrant water distilled from sandalwood and aguru herb was sprinkled everywhere on the lanes, roads, and small parks throughout the city. And everywhere were decorations of unbroken fruits, flowers, wetted grains, varied minerals, and lamps, all presented as auspicious paraphernalia. Text 3. At the street crossings, there were bunches of fruits and flowers, as well as pillars of banana trees and betel nut branches. All these combined decorations everywhere looked very attractive. Text 4. As the king entered the gate of the city, all the citizens received him with many auspicious articles like lamps, flowers, and yogurt. The king was also received by many beautiful unmarried girls whose bodies were bedecked with various ornaments, especially with earrings, which collided with one another. Purport. Offerings of natural products such as betel nuts, bananas, newly grown wheat, paddy, yogurt, and vermilion, carried by the citizens and scattered throughout the city, are all auspicious paraphernalia, according to Vedic civilization, for receiving a prominent guest like a bridegroom, king, or spiritual master. Similarly, a welcome offered by unmarried girls who are internally and externally clean and are dressed in nice garments and ornaments is also auspicious. Kumari, or unmarried girls untouched by the hand of any member of the opposite sex, are auspicious members of society. Even today in Hindu society, the most conservative families do not allow unmarried girls to go out freely or mix with boys. They are very carefully protected by their parents while unmarried. After marriage, they are protected by their young husbands, and when elderly, they are protected by their children. When thus protected, women as a class remain as an always auspicious source of energy to to man. Text 5. When the king entered the palace, conch shells and kettle drums were sounded. Priests chanted Vedic mantras, and professional reciters offered different prayers. But in spite of all this ceremony to welcome him, the king was not the least bit affected. Purport. The reception given to the king was full of opulence, yet he did not become proud. It is said, therefore, that great personalities of power and opulence never become proud, and the example is given that a tree which is full of fruits and flowers does not stand erect in pride, but instead bends downwards to show submissiveness. This is a sign of the wonderful character of great personalities. Text 6. Both the important citizens and the common citizens welcomed the king very heartily, and he also bestowed upon them their desired blessings. Purport. A responsible king was always approachable by his citizens. Generally, the citizens, great and common, all had an aspiration to see the king and take benediction from him. The king knew this, and therefore, whenever he met the citizens, he immediately fulfilled their desires or mitigated their grievances. In such dealings, a responsible monarchy is better than a so-called democratic government in which no one is responsible to mitigate the grievances of the citizens who are unable to personally meet the supreme executive head. In a responsible monarchy, the citizens had no grievances against the government, and even if they did, they could approach the king directly for immediate satisfaction. Text 7. King Prthu was greater than the greatest soul and was therefore worshipable by everyone. He performed many glorious activities in ruling over the surface of the world and was always magnanimous. After achieving such great success and a reputation which spread throughout the universe, he at last obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. A responsible king or chief executive has many responsible duties to attend to in ruling over the citizens. The most important duty of the monarch or the government is to perform various sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literatures. The next duty of the king is to see that every citizen executes the prescribed duties for his particular community. It is the king's duty to see that everyone perfectly executes the duties prescribed for the varna and ashrama divisions of society. Besides that, as exemplified by King Prthu, he must develop the earth for the greatest possible production of food grains. There are different types of great personalities. Some are positive great personalities, some comparative to some, and some superlative. But King Prthu exceeded all of them. He is therefore described here as Mahatmana, greater than the greatest. Maharaja Prthu was a Kshatriya, and he discharged his Kshatriya duties perfectly. Similarly, Brahmanas, Vaishyas, and Shudras can discharge their respective duties perfectly, and thus at the ultimate end of life be promoted to the transcendental world, which is called Param Padam. Param Padam, or the Vaikuntha planets, can be achieved only by devotional service. The impersonal Brahman region is also called Param Padam, but unless one is attached to the personality of God, one must again fall down to the material world from the impersonal Param Padam situation. It is said, therefore, Aruya Krishtrena Padam Tata. The impersonalists endeavor very strenuously to achieve the Param Padam, or impersonal Brahmajyoti. But unfortunately, being bereft of a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they come down again to the material world. If one flies in outer space, he can go very high up, but unless he reaches a planet, he must come down again to Earth. Similarly, because the impersonalists who reach the Param, or of the impersonal Brahmajyoti, do not enter into the Vaikuntha planets, they come down again to this material world and are given shelter in one of the material planets. Although they may attain Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, all such planets are situated in the material world. And we will stop there today. Hare Krishna, for our reading, our daily readings of Srila Prabhupada, our daily, dose of nectar. Yeah. And it's always different atmosphere by the time we finish than when we start. Hare Krishna. Proof of the pudding is in the hearing. Okay. Now we have our reflection time. Any points that stood out in anyone's mind that they want to reflect upon or discuss or question, whatever? Yes. Bhakti Doug.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Thank you very much for the reading. I had a question. It was speaking about in the spiritual world, there's no such envy that you might experience here in the material world. Rather, it's more of an appreciation. I was speaking about this a little bit with Pranita Karunadas recently about overcoming the envy that we experience in the material world, especially sometimes for me, I'll see something that other people are doing, and instead of necessarily feeling like I'm resentful of them or something, it's more like I'll feel bad about myself rather than giving the appreciation. So can you discuss a little bit or give some advice as to how to kind of overcome that?
Well, as often happens when devotees ask these wonderful questions, they give the answer in the question. So you already gave the answer in the question. We have to practice. We're in the material world for a very long time, and we're habituated to thinking in a certain way. We're habituated to being a certain way. And we have to practice being another way. Of course, it's not that you can get the goal of life, pure love of God, just by practice. You can't practice being spontaneous, but you can practice to purify yourself, the way you behave, the way you act, the cleanliness inside, outside. I was talking to Ukti Tantra the other day from Denver, and he's a very simple-hearted person. And anyway, long story short, he asked me for some service. Of course, he has plenty of service, and there's a temple president, and there's an ashram leader, and he's getting so much service. Anyway, I'm his spiritual master, so I felt obliged to give him some service. So I said, Ukti, you memorize the first three verses of the 16th chapter. Does anybody recall what that is? I think I said this yesterday. Yeah. It's the divine qualities. There's at least 18 of them, maybe more. There's 18 a list of 18 items of knowledge, and I think there's more than 18 in the divine quality. But anyway, those are the qualities that are there in the soul. So sadhana bhakti means you act like you're a devotee, even though you're not yet. You act like you're humble, even if you're not yet. You act. There's this. We'll read them, because it's really relevant to your question. Yes. These are the qualities that we should practice acting like we have, even if we don't have them. And if you do that sincerely for long enough, you'll find yourself acting like that, even if you're still not like that. And then when Krishna sees, because it's a dynamic, this isn't just some mechanical exercise, you lift your weight until you can lift it. It's not like that. It requires reciprocation from Krishna, from within your heart. So if we act like in a way that pleases Krishna, then Krishna will be attracted to us. And then we can actually get those qualities. So here they are. Ready? Fearlessness. Purification of one's existence. Cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Charity. Good example. I'm not charitable. I'm a miser. I want to keep everything for myself. So act like you're charitable and give something to somebody else, even if you don't feel like it. And you keep doing that, and you develop this good quality. Self-control. Oh, I look at that. I want to go do that. No, I don't think so. What would happen if I did that? Remember what happened last time I did that? No, I don't think so. I won't do that. Intelligence. Performance of sacrifice. Study of the Vedas. Austerity. Simplicity. Non-violence. Truthfulness. Freedom from anger. Renunciation. Tranquility. Aversion to fault finding. So you find fault. Everybody in this material world is finding fault with everyone else. So it doesn't taste nice. It's like you put something on your tongue and if it tastes really horrible, you spit it out. But if you're just going to put something that tastes really bad and keep chewing on it, then what? Then you're going to suffer. So when you find a fault with another person, you don't feel good. So you should give that up. Compassion for all living entities. Practice doing that by giving out Krishna consciousness. Distribute prasadam, distribute books. Talk to somebody. Introduce them somehow or other. Get them take a step forward, no matter who they are, everyone you meet. Freedom from covetousness. Gentleness. Modesty. Steady determination. Vigor. Don't just sit over in the corner and, merge. Forgiveness. Actually, there's a link between anger and forgiveness. If you want to overcome anger, learn how to forgive. If you're always angry, they have contrary personalities. You come up to somebody, hi, for no reason, contrary personality. Forgive. Fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy, and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So you see Prthu Maharaj in the prayers, he's saying actually, I don't deserve any of this, Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances. So practice being like that during the day. Even if you don't feel like it, memorize them. Bring them to the front of your mind. And then practice being like that. in your dealings, the people that you always meet every day and you have service with and you interact with, whether they be family or friends or the community that you were living in this community. And then you'll become a happy camper.
Maharaj, one of the things that helped me a lot. One of the things that helped me early on, I think, was with this envy issue was I was told to be happy for other people's successes. And that actually, right there, helped me so much. And so those people that I had a little stuff with, the tendency is to go away, to move away from them, and not interact with them. But my philosophy now, after practicing, has been to go towards them. And to engage with them, get to know them, and then whatever stuff I might have just washes away. Yeah. So that was really healthy with the envy thing.
Yeah, that's practical application of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, that's practice. And to Doug's point, more directly, do some service for that person. If you're feeling like that, somebody does something good and, stand up with everyone else that's applauding and applaud, and give some service, give some appreciation. We have our birthday boy here today, Bhakta Marcus. He's 25 years old today. That's why he's got that lovely garland on. Everybody likes that. So if you what did Jesus teach? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if somebody sticks you with a pin, and you stick another person with a pin, then you're a rascal, and you can't expect to be a rascal and please Krishna, or to wake up good qualities. So we got to stop being rascals first of all. Stop sticking pins in others, even though we know what it's like. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Maharaj. Can you tell us where does Jiva take the strength to follow decisions that
Where do the jivas take the strength to follow the decisions
of previous? So, for example, if I decided, so I will follow it. Where to take strength for this?
Where does the strength come to follow?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I want to follow, but I can't, because I'm too weak. I'm too attached to the body and to the pushings and pullings of the body. So where do I get the strength? You get the strength by associating with those who have the strength. There's no other way. You associate with persons who have strength, and then hear submissively from them, and you will get by association. Everything works by this principle of association. The more you associate with persons who have strength, the stronger you'll get. And it doesn't mean to just, sit in a corner and be like the person and appreciate the person. You have to actually follow in the footsteps. You have to emulate. You have to, it says to follow the examples of the Mahajans, of the Vedacharyas, will give you strength. And Prabhupada told us that the main way we get our strength is by following the four regulative principles. That's where you get spiritual strength. By following the four regulative principles. No illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication. If you follow those four things strictly, you will get strength. And all of the other things, because those are the pillars of sinful life, of criminal life, actually. So that's how you get strength, by follow those regular principles, You follow them by living with devotees, and letting the association and the, how do you say this, social pressure. Out in the material world, the social pressures to do all nonsense. Everybody's pressuring you. The TV's pressuring you. Your cell phones are pressuring you. Your computers are pressuring you. The billboards are pressuring you. The advertisements of all types nowadays are pressuring you to do the wrong thing. So if you associate with the devotees, there's a kind of social pressure in this movement. Isn't it? And so if you live with us and associate with us closely, then when you're doing something wrong, they'll go, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Because they can see it. Not everyone can see these things, but if you're not doing those things, then you can see it, and then you can say, "Hey, why are you doing that? What's wrong with you?" I used the example the other day. If you're in a room that is so filthy and so cluttered with junk, if one more thing comes in the room, you can't even tell. But if the room is kept in order, very neat and very clean and very, as we say in India, paka, then when one thing comes in that doesn't belong, it's immediately, "Oh yeah, get that out," Yes, Bhakti Matthew.
I was thinking about those saintly qualities, and one of them is self-purification. And in Krishna's opulences, he says that a purificatory process is he's the wind. So my question is, should we be trying to get some outside time to get that purification that Krishna offers through the wind?
Yeah, fresh air is good. Fresh air is always good to stay healthy. Keep yourself in the wind of the kirtan and the wind of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Read out loud to yourself. Use the wind inside your body. Take the wind from outside your body through the sound that is coming from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and use the wind coming from within the body outside to read the books out loud and get strength and purification. I mean, that's, don't eat nonsense. Eat only Krishna Prasadam. It's the same principle as before. Same principle as before. Social pressure. Krishna sets up the rules and regulations of deity worship. You can't offer me this or that, and you got to offer me right on time. In any temple, they offer right on time, and the curtains open any time, right on time, and then we become regulated. Just by living with the Lord, by living with the devotees, we become regulated. Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya bharatar shabha papmanam pratihiyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. The only enemy is lust in our own hearts, in our own mind, in our own intelligence, in our own senses. And that lust is the destroyer of our knowledge and our self-realization. So the way to get free from it is to regulate the senses. And the way to regulate the senses is to surrender to the spiritual program that Prabhupada gave us. And ultimately, as it said, we've heard a number of times in the Bhagavatam recently, you become attached to hearing about Krishna. By associating with Krishna, you get purified, top to bottom, inside and out, throughout. Hare Krishna. All right, I'm going to stop here. Hare Krishna. I got somebody I got to meet now. And thank you so much, as usual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's so nice. I mean, I do this in quite a few places when I travel. And here, more devotees come to do this than any place else. that I go to. By far, actually. I'm talking about in a regular, nightly. One program is another thing, a house program once a week, but every night this is a test. Your spiritual mettle, your sincerity, your desire for purification. My humble obeisances to all of you. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. Tomorrow night.